there one or two you really loved and maybe a couple you really hated?
Well, I would prefer to probably ignore anything I really hated.
At 94, Clint Eastwood has worked with hundreds of actors. He's directed legends, launched careers, and created some of cinema's most unforgettable moments. But here's what Hollywood doesn't want you to know. Behind that steely gaze and legendary professionalism, there are 7 actors who made his life on set an absolute nightmare. These aren't just creative differences or minor disagreements. We're talking about full-blown feuds, explosive confrontations and collaborations so toxic they nearly destroyed films. Some of these stories have been buried for decades. Others involve A-list superstars you'd never expect. What you're about to discover will change how you see some of Hollywood's biggest names forever. Because when Clint Eastwood, a man who survived plane crashes...
My dad he was in a plane crash in his early 20s. And it was off San Francisco, and he had to swim like a couple miles in that water to survive.
Built an empire and never backs down from anyone, says he hates working with someone you know it's serious. Let's count down the 7 actors who pushed the most respected director in Hollywood past his breaking point. Number 7, Armie Hammer. Most people remember Armie Hammer from The Social Network or Call Me By Your Name.
I like the way you say things. I don't know why you're always putting yourself down, though.
But before his career imploded, he had the chance to work with Clint Eastwood in J. Edgar alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. What should have been a career-defining moment turned into a masterclass in how not to work with a legend. Eastwood is famous for his one-take directing style. He doesn't waste time, he doesn't coddle actors. You show up prepared, you nail the scene, and you move on. It's a system that's worked for over 5 decades, and Hammer couldn't handle it. On the J. Edgar set, Eastwood would start rolling cameras without warning. While other actors adapted to this lightning-fast pace, Hammer was constantly caught off guard. There's one infamous incident where Hammer thought they were just rehearsing a scene. He had his script in hand, wasn't in character, and was casually going through the motions. Eastwood was actually filming. The confusion and unprofessionalism frustrated Eastwood to no end. Here's a director who values efficiency above everything else, working with an actor who couldn't tell the difference between a rehearsal and an actual take. Hammer later admitted he felt unprepared and dissatisfied throughout the entire production. But it gets worse. Hammer's inability to adapt to Eastwood's style created tension that rippled through the entire cast. While DiCaprio and other seasoned actors rolled with Eastwood's methods, Hammer's constant confusion slowed down production and broke the rhythm Eastwood depends on. The result? A strained working relationship that left Eastwood questioning why he'd cast Hammer in the first place. It was a lesson in why preparation and professionalism matter more than raw talent when you're working with a master. Number 6. Angelina Jolie. When Angelina Jolie signed on to star in Eastwood's Changeling, it seemed like a perfect match.
It's not my son.
What?
One of Hollywood's biggest stars working with one of its most respected directors on a powerful, emotional story. What could go wrong? Everything. Jolie arrived on set with what sources described as extensive character research and detailed requests for deep scene exploration. In most circumstances, this level of preparation would be admirable, but Clint Eastwood doesn't work that way. He values instinct over analysis, spontaneity over preparation. The clash was immediate and brutal. While Eastwood preferred to capture raw, authentic moments quickly, Jolie wanted to dissect every scene, explore every emotional beat, and dive deep into her character's psychology. She'd arrive with pages of notes, questions about motivation, and requests to try scenes multiple ways. Eastwood dismissed most of this. His philosophy is simple: if you have to think that hard about it, you're probably overthinking it. The tension became so thick that crew members described the atmosphere as a creative battleground. One particularly heated exchange reportedly occurred when Jolie questioned Eastwood's direction on an emotional scene. She wanted more time to explore the character's internal state. Eastwood's response was typically blunt: just do the scene. The friction affected everyone on set. What should have been a smooth production became a daily negotiation between 2 completely different approaches to filmmaking. Jolie's method-heavy style clashed with Eastwood's instinctive approach at every turn. Despite the behind-the-scenes drama, Changeling was a critical success and earned Jolie an Oscar nomination. But those who worked on the film remember it as one of the most tense productions in Eastwood's career. The professional respect was there, but the personal chemistry was non-existent. Number 5. Jack Nicholson. This one might surprise you. Jack Nicholson and Clint Eastwood are both legends, both icons of American cinema, both masters of their craft. But their legendary rivalry runs deeper than most people realize. While Eastwood never directed Nicholson in a major film, their paths crossed constantly in Hollywood circles, and the tension was always palpable. The conflict wasn't about one specific project, it was about philosophy, ego, and two completely different approaches to stardom. Eastwood values ensemble work and professional discipline. Nicholson, on the other hand, was known for his scene-stealing and unpredictable behavior. Where Eastwood brought quiet intensity, Nicholson brought explosive charisma. Where Eastwood preferred subtlety, Nicholson went for theatrical grandeur. Industry insiders describe their relationship as a competitive rivalry that played out at premieres, award shows, and Hollywood parties. Both men were alpha personalities who commanded respect, but they commanded it in completely different ways. The breaking point came during various industry events where Nicholson's larger-than-life persona would overshadow everyone else in the room. Eastwood, who values humility and professionalism, saw this as showboating. He reportedly called Nicholson's behavior unpredictable and disruptive to the collaborative process. Their opposing philosophies became legendary in Hollywood. Eastwood believed in serving the story. Nicholson believed in serving Jack Nicholson. Both approaches worked, but they were fundamentally incompatible. The rivalry was so well known that when directors considered casting them together, they'd often reconsider. The potential for on-set fireworks was too great, and not the good kind. Number 4. Spike Lee. Technically, Spike Lee was never directed by Clint Eastwood, but their explosive public feud was so intense, so personal, and so damaging that it earned Lee a permanent spot on Eastwood's blacklist. The war began when Lee publicly criticized Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers for what he saw as historical erasure.
Look at that!
Lee accused Eastwood of ignoring the contributions of African-American soldiers in World War II, calling the omission racist and historically irresponsible. Eastwood's response was swift and brutal. A guy like him should just shut his face. But Lee didn't back down. He fired back with even harsher criticism, questioning Eastwood's entire approach to depicting American history. The feud escalated through interviews, public statements, and media appearances, becoming one of Hollywood's most bitter public battles. What made this particularly damaging was that both directors were respected voices on social issues. This wasn't just a creative disagreement, it was a fundamental clash over how American history should be portrayed on screen. Eastwood, who had built his reputation on authentic storytelling and historical accuracy, was furious that his integrity was being questioned. Lee, who had spent his career highlighting overlooked African-American stories, wasn't going to let what he saw as historical whitewashing slide. The feud never truly ended. There was no public reconciliation, no handshake at an awards ceremony, no joint statement about moving forward. The animosity remained, cementing Lee's place as someone Eastwood would never work with under any circumstances. Industry insiders say the feud damaged both directors' reputations and created unnecessary division in Hollywood. But for Eastwood, it was a matter of principle. He wasn't going to apologize for his artistic choices, and he wasn't going to work with someone who questioned his integrity so publicly. Number 3. John Wayne. The rivalry between Clint Eastwood and John Wayne is the stuff of Hollywood legend. Two titans of the Western genre, two completely different approaches to heroism.
You want a closer look?
This is close enough.
Take that window.
And a mutual animosity that defined an era. Wayne represented the old guard, the clean-cut, morally upright cowboy who always did the right thing. Eastwood represented the new wave, the gritty, morally ambiguous anti-hero who lived in shades of grey. Their styles weren't just different, they were diametrically opposed. Wayne publicly criticized Eastwood's spaghetti westerns, calling them violent and un-American. He saw Eastwood's man with no-name character as everything wrong with modern cinema, dark, cynical, and lacking in traditional heroic values. Eastwood fired back by dismissing Wayne's approach as outdated and unrealistic. He saw Wayne's characters as one-dimensional and his moral certainty as naive. Where Wayne's heroes were paragons of virtue, Eastwood's were flawed, complex, and human. The philosophical divide ran so deep that they never worked together, despite both being major stars in the same genre during overlapping periods. Studios occasionally floated the idea of pairing them, but both actors made it clear they had no interest. Wayne's criticism of Eastwood's work was particularly galling because it came from someone Eastwood had initially respected. But as Eastwood's career evolved and his anti-hero persona became more defined, Wayne's attacks became more personal. The feud represented more than just two actors disliking each other. It was a battle for the soul of the Western genre. Wayne's traditional heroism versus Eastwood's moral complexity, the past versus the future, and in the end Eastwood's approach won, but the personal animosity never faded. Even after Wayne's death, Eastwood rarely spoke about him with anything approaching warmth. The rivalry had cut too deep, lasted too long, and represented too fundamental a disagreement about what American heroes should look like. Number 2, Leonardo DiCaprio. This one shocked Hollywood insiders. Leonardo DiCaprio and Clint Eastwood should have been a perfect match. One of the greatest directors of all time, working with one of the most dedicated actors of his generation. Instead, their collaboration on J. Edgar became a masterclass in incompatible working styles.
The Golden Boy and the Cowboy, Jack Dawson and Dirty Harry. And now for the first time ever, Leonardo DiCaprio and Clint Eastwood are pooling their star power to make a big movie.
DiCaprio is famous for his intense preparation and method approach. He researches every role obsessively, asks countless questions, and wants to explore every possible angle of his character. It's an approach that's earned him an Oscar and critical acclaim across decades. Eastwood couldn't stand it. The problem started immediately. DiCaprio would arrive on set wanting to discuss character motivation, explore different interpretations, and try multiple takes to find the perfect performance. Eastwood, who values instinct and efficiency, found this approach exhausting and unnecessary. "The kid's too controlled," Eastwood reportedly told a close friend after filming Wrapped. "Everything feels rehearsed, intellectualized. He's done his homework. He knows his character's history. He knows what he wants to do in the scene, but there's no danger. There's no chance he's going to do something that truly surprises you." The tension came to a head during several key scenes where DiCaprio requested multiple takes to perfect his performance. Eastwood, who typically moves on after one or two takes, found himself trapped in lengthy discussions about character choices and emotional beats. What frustrated Eastwood most was DiCaprio's need to control every aspect of his performance. Where Eastwood thrives on spontaneity and unexpected moments, DiCaprio had mapped out every gesture, every line reading, every emotional beat in advance. "It's the difference between a live concert and a studio recording," Eastwood later reflected. "I prefer the sweat and the feedback." Despite delivering a performance that earned critical acclaim, DiCaprio left the production feeling like he and Eastwood had never truly connected as collaborators. The mutual respect was there, but the creative chemistry was non-existent. Eastwood made it clear he wouldn't work with DiCaprio again. It wasn't personal, it was professional. Their approaches were simply too different, their rhythms too incompatible. Number 1. Tom Hanks. The most shocking name on this list isn't a difficult diva or an unpredictable method actor. It's Tom Hanks, America's sweetheart, the most beloved actor of his generation, and someone you'd never expect to clash with anyone, let alone Clint Eastwood. But their collaboration on Sully revealed a fundamental incompatibility that surprised everyone involved. Hanks, despite his reputation for being easygoing, actually prefers a collaborative, communicative directing style. He likes to discuss scenes, explore character choices, and work through problems together with his director. It's an approach that served him well with directors like Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis. Eastwood's style is the complete opposite. He's famously quiet on set, rarely gives detailed direction, and expects actors to figure things out themselves. Instead of shouting, "Cut," he'll quietly mumble, "That's enough of that," and move on. Hanks found this approach intimidating and frustrating. He was used to directors who engaged with him, who provided feedback and guidance. Eastwood's silence left him feeling isolated and uncertain about his performance. The situation got worse when Hanks tried to initiate conversations about the character and the story. Eastwood would listen politely but rarely engage in the kind of deep discussion Hanks was looking for. This left Hanks feeling like he was performing in a vacuum. Working with Clint was like trying to have a conversation with a mountain. Hanks later joked in interviews, but those close to the production say the frustration was real. The breaking point came during a particularly challenging emotional scene. Hanks wanted to explore different approaches, discuss the character's internal state, and work through the moment with Eastwood's guidance. Instead, Eastwood watched silently, offered minimal feedback, and moved on after just 2 takes. Hanks left the production feeling like he'd never truly connected with his director. Despite Sully being a critical and commercial success, the working relationship was strained throughout. What makes this particularly significant is that Hanks is universally regarded as one of the most professional, prepared, and collaborative actors in Hollywood. If Tom Hanks can't make it work with your directing style, that says something profound about how uncompromising that style really is. Eastwood's approach works brilliantly for actors who thrive on independence and instinct, but for actors who need collaboration and communication, it can be a nightmare. Hanks fell into the latter category, making their partnership one of the most professionally disappointing of both their careers. These 7 actors represent more than just personality clashes or creative differences. They reveal the uncompromising nature of Clint Eastwood's artistic vision and his unwillingness to bend his methods for anyone, no matter how talented, famous, or beloved they might be. At 94, Eastwood has earned the right to work exactly how he wants to work. He's created masterpieces, launched careers, and built a legacy that will outlast us all. But that legacy comes with a price, and these 7 actors paid it. Some learned to adapt and grew from the experience. Others walked away frustrated and vowing never to work with him again. But all of them discovered that when you step into Clint Eastwood's world, you play by Clint Eastwood's rules. And if you can't handle that, well, as the man himself might say, that's your problem, not his. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more film lore.